Everybody, I'm Eagle County Commissioner Matt Schur. I'm just wanted to welcome you to this virtual community briefing for the Grizzly Creek fire. I will be brief because everything you want to see is everything that comes immediately after me. But the two things I want to say as I'm being brief, the first is thank you. We are transitioning some fire teams. We've had a massive crew of incredible people in here, and our community is tremendously grateful for all the work that you guys have done. I toured the facility down here and was fortunate not to tour the fire, but we understand what this fire has been. It's tremendously complex and very large for our area, and our community is really grateful. And Jeff, I understand there's a lot of ladies sad to see you go. The second thing I will say is welcome. So the Great Basin team is on their way out, and Alaska team is on their way in. We welcome you all with open arms and are really grateful for you being here as well, and we look forward to getting to know you and offer you every piece of support that we can. And with that, I will let you all go. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Commissioner, and welcome everyone to tonight's Grizzly Creek Fire Community Meeting live. We have a great agenda for you. I'm just going to give you the most up-to-date and current information, introduce the new incoming team, as well as answer any of those important questions that you have. So with that, Jeff Serber, our Operations Section Chief, will give you an update operationally on the fire.
Thanks, Jennifer. So for tonight's update, we'll start out with, how about the map?
Go ahead.
Okay. So this afternoon we queried the folks in the field to find out what they felt they might be able to turn black, which means it's contained line this afternoon, and this will be the map that you'll see tomorrow based upon their comfort levels with their divisions. I kind of thought a few days ago we might have all of that southern stuff burned out, and in the case of Division X-ray over there on the southeast corner, I kind of thought that might be done by now, and that the stuff up top on the south side in Division Zulu would be probably turned to contained line, but because the conditions weren't right on a few days, we had some thunderstorms and that, they held off a little bit on the burn over there on Division X-ray, so that is tied in today. This map doesn't reflect that where it says 870 over on the southeast corner. It doesn't reflect that it's closed in, but I'll jump over here to where I have been starting out over in No Name. You can see that we're still at the same point we have been for several days in No Name, with feeling like the bottom of the drainage is pretty secure in that area for the time being. And beyond that, we have a dozer line that is up here on the ridge that doesn't show up very well on this map. I apologize for that, but if this fire escapes and runs up towards Windy Point, we have a dozer line that comes all the way down here by H10, below H10. So we feel comfortable that as it goes around the corner, this is hanging itself up with work from aircraft in the bottom of the drainage. And then this, let's see if I can zoom in on that a little bit. Ooh, too much, didn't I? Okay. So you can see Windy Point there. This fire is hanging up itself down here. We keep hitting with helicopters trying to keep it from crossing the bottom of No Name drainage. And as it comes up in here, if it does cross and run up towards Windy Point, we have a dozer line on this road right here that comes all the way down here to H10. So pretty much it actually comes down south of H10 down into here. So if this fire does cross eventually, whether it crosses down in this area or upstream and it runs to the top, there's aspen, and it's much like the rest of the fire. It flattens out up there. There's aspen, there's an old burn, and there's ways we felt like we could catch it if and when it runs up there. We just couldn't go down in the bottom and chase it, so we prepared what we could up top, and that's how we'll leave it for the incoming team. They'll need to deal with this area from the Grizzly drainage where the pointer is back over to No Name, and probably, I'm just guessing, they'll probably deal with it the same way we have, which is to either wait for it to go far enough north up into this more moderate terrain where they can take action on it with folks on the ground, or they will, or it'll never get there. One of those two things will likely occur. If it tries to come up the drainage and then sneak back out beyond where the fire edge is now, then we have dozer line also up in this area to catch it as it tries to come up out of there. And it'll also hit those big flat open benches up there and likely do the same thing it has around Coffee Pot, and that is try to spot, and then the vegetation's too green. I'll kind of explain as we get around the south side why that southern area isn't contained. But as you can see, we add a little bit more black here from Wagon Gulch and back over all the way to, actually all the way over to the Bear Ranch. So that's all, we feel, very secure line, and hopefully won't present any problems for the incoming team or for the folks around here for the future. A lot of good work in there by a lot of people in the last 2 weeks. Moving over to the Bear Ranch. This, as you recall, maybe I'll flip over to the Google Earth side of things. Okay. This is a little bit older infrared flight. You can tell because of the way it matches up with the map. What we first did was burn this. That's why it shows an intense heat. But this is about I believe we just saw the date on it, and this is about the 23rd. So it's a couple days old. We couldn't find the newest infrared. We quit flying. What happened was we typically get an infrared flight every night. And because of California doing what it's been doing, our fire wasn't as high of a priority because we kind of we know where it's hot, basically. It's hot where we lit it, number one. And we were planning to go ahead and light it and bring it down behind the structure in the bottom of spruce. So we kind of knew we can see where it's hot. We don't have as high of a priority, and we don't need to have as high a priority for that flight every night. So what we've done is we've used a different machine, the MMA machine out of Colorado Springs, that flies this fire and gives us new perimeter only where the fire has a little bit of growth. So that's what we're using that tool for the last couple or 3 days since weren't getting the national infrared flight. So you can see the difference here as compared with the map. So this was burned yesterday all the way down into the bottom. There's a dozer line here that doesn't show up on the map. We used a drone yesterday and dropped incendiary devices. They refer to them as dinosaur eggs. They're very small balls that fall out of the machine and light fire. Started that yesterday morning, used it for a while. The machine broke, but by the time they had lit it, the fire was able to come down to the dozer line, and they hand-lit the dozer line. So this morning they went back in, finished this little gap. This is a bigger gap than it looks like because this infrared came in at 7:30 last night, and they continued to burn for about an hour after that. So they carried it all the way down to the bottom of the drainage in Spruce Creek where it got too wet to burn and too late in the evening, and the dew point and the relative humidity came up, so they had to stop. They went back in there today and finished that, and this is all closed off now behind this structure in Spruce. They're feeling very comfortable. That column that you saw come up earlier in the day is this right here. It was a timber patch in that donut hole that took off, and you could see it from, at least we could see it from town, and I saw it from Cottonwood Pass when I was over there. So it put up a big cloud of smoke and then died off. So that's pretty much what was happening over there. Nothing unexpected. It was just cleaning up this area in here. I've been told that this is getting real secure, this whole edge back over to here. So I'd expect, barring high winds, some kind of strange event or weather event, that the team, that's incoming team, will probably look at that for a few days and decide when they feel comfortable with the fact that it's contained, and that hopefully that'll eventually turn black and we won't have any escape fire. The reason this is still uncontained is we understand that in this area, number one, when that burned up to the top, it burned very intensely in the timber stands, and then it worked its way into aspen, and it started ground fire underneath the aspen, the leaves, and the duff, and that. And every so often, it'll pick up and take a tree and torch a tree and then spot again. And it continues to move, but in order to move firefighters in there and actually put out that edge, there are aspen snags, which are an aspen snag this big can kill you. So basically, firefighter safety is paramount. So rather than walking people in there and trying to put out all that edge and having something bad happen, they've elected to put in the dozer line that, again, doesn't show up on this map, but it's up there on the flat beyond that red edge. So there is a containment, what's considered a contingency or a containment line up there on the top that could be used in the future if necessary, but we're kind of letting things kind of take their own course in there, keep people there watching it, so if it tries to escape, we can jump on it and take action. My understanding is that they've had fires here that they considered contained, or that they had pretty much laid down for a month, and then the fuel continues to dry out into September or even October, and an edge like that will have one tree fall over, and then what happens is that fuel that's not ready to burn now, we can't light it on fire because it's got just enough fuel moisture not to carry fire well. But in another month, if you don't get rain, it will burn readily. So what the process is, it's put in that line like we have, so that if that happens, if you don't get the rain, we have a way for whoever's here at the time to use that line to burn off that sagebrush and grass, which might then burn, and tie that piece up without just abandoning it. Basically, it's a watching game, or if it dies down to the point where you get a big windstorm, 50-mile-an-hour winds, and everything blows down, and they start feeling comfortable that the weak trees blew over already, they might walk in there. It's just kind of a waiting time for that area there, and I don't know exactly what will happen in the next 2 weeks, but if it starts raining, I would think that if enough rain comes, that whoever's here at the time could consider this piece contained too. But that's the reason we haven't contained it ourselves. You can see over here on Alpha, on called Division Alpha, this piece that dropped down that we had so much effort put into in the last several days, as well as building that contingency line down into Glenwood Springs. We went after it direct, got a dozer line in there, used a lot of helicopter retardant, and we felt comfortable today turning that black to show containment all the way. So basically that line became contained all the way from our Green Lake pipe up on top to the northern end of that containment line in No Name. So a little bit of success there as far as what's gone on, especially in the last couple of days as far as containment goes. I can't tell you what the final result will be. We showed containment on this map to show what we feel like it is by the end of the shift today, but it hasn't been recalculated in relation to the perimeters. It was 44, I believe, today, if I remember right, and maybe 50-ish tomorrow, or whatever it happens to be. They'll calculate that using a computer, and they'll come out with that percentage, but that's where that percentage gain will come in in tomorrow's plan. We continue to have IA resources. We responded last night to a call into Grand Junction Dispatch on a smoke that was three or so miles. It was down by Cottonwood Pass. I drove down there, met up with a person who thought they saw smoke. It wasn't the person that called it in, but because of where Cottonwood Pass sits, as you local people know, here it is right here. When I drove out there and drove up this road and got up high, we had a helicopter looking for it. I was looking for it. We had our IA resources from the fire come over there. And about dark, I went up and I observed what that person was looking at, and it was drift smoke from our fire here that was drifting across and looked like a new start. So we're spending quite a bit of time chasing those things, which is great. The person was apologizing. I say, hey, don't apologize. It's dry around here, and the more eyes, the better. We have people that are here for that purpose, and we'd rather know about them early and make a few mistakes than not know about them at all. So that's kind of what we've done. We've had 2 false alarm IAs and then the 1 IA on the Red Canyon fire while we've been here. And we also had that little, I guess it got called in down in the canyon last night on the south side of I-70, and we put a few buckets on it, and I closed the highway for a short period of time, I think, so the helicopter could fly down there. That's going to be a nuisance, possibility of nuisance fires down there because of the public using the highway and getting concerned and calling those in, but that may continue well after we're gone. I know they did change the reader boards today to say active fire, don't call 911, so that may hold those calls down. That's all I have.
All right, Jeff, thank you very much. And thank you for always providing that most detailed information, explaining some of those operational terms and technology things that we have, explaining to the public, so appreciate that. Thank you. All right, next we have Eagle County Sheriff James Van Beek.
Good evening. Before we get started, for all the Great Basin Incident Management Team, can't thank you guys enough. It's been great having you here. I mean, I always wish it was under better circumstances, certainly, but no, you guys have been phenomenal. Working with all the teams and all the team members and so on, it's been great. And then again, to the Alaska team, Tom and Norm and all the guys that you're bringing in, we look forward to working with you, and it'll be good. And Jeff, you're the anomaly. I got to say thanks, because this is the first time we've ever had a major incident like that an individual person from a team has got their own fan club and their own Facebook page. I understand that they're going to do Where's Cerber Now kind of Facebook page and keep track of you, so congratulations on that. So, Eagle County is in stage 2 fire restrictions. We are at some historic lows in fuel moisture content. It's tinderbox dry out there, people. We've got to be extremely careful. There's very few places that haven't hit historic lows, and if they haven't hit it, they're right on the edge of that right now. So it is very, very, very dry out there. So again, we appreciate everyone watching what's going on, but we're asking everyone to do their part to prevent this, because these guys are stretched to the max already, and they've been great about any possible fire ups or actually any starts and so on. They've been great, but we're pulling them away from the main fire, and resources are stretched very thin. Again, I will emphasize, please go to ecemergency.org to see all the maps and where everything's at. As Jeff was talking about, for the I-70 travelers, be prepared for consistent and odd times for closures on the I-70, due both to the fire, rock and mudslides or anything else that's going on. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know when we're going to start getting a lot of moisture, so we're not sure what's going to happen. CDOT crews have been out there day and night. They're staged. They're ready to go. Try to keep it open as much as possible. And again, asking any of the travelers, please follow the CDOT variable message signs that you see up there for the alternate routes. Do not trust your GPS, because where it's going to put you, it's going to get you stuck, and you're going to cause more problems. Most of these roads that they're going to put you on, that most of us locally know, they're going to be 4x4 roads or smaller vehicle roads. You can't get the large vehicles. Colorado River Road is open. The actual road itself is open to for people to travel on. We ask everyone to use extreme caution on that one, because there are fire crews and fire equipment coming up and down that road. But the public river access from Cottonwood to Docero Landing remains closed at this time. And again, for the safety of everyone that's there, and for the fire equipment going up and down right now. So again, the public river access from Cottonwood to Docero remains closed, and that's going to be for the foreseeable future. And then also, Sweetwater and Derby Mesa are completely open at this time, but Coffee Pot remains closed because of all the equipment going up and down on Coffee Pot. So aside from that, I want to thank everybody again. Really, again, can't thank you guys enough. You've been great, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Sheriff. Appreciate that. Next, we have Lisa Stepler, White River National Forest Deputy Supervisor. Go ahead, Lisa.
Great, thank you. Hey, good evening, everyone. I can't share my thanks enough for the Great Basin team that will be leaving us tomorrow, Marty and Evans and his crew. I've heard everyone echo that, but from the Forest Service and the agencies that have worked with you, I just want to share for everyone. You've heard a lot from Jeff and the incredibly skilled firefighters that have been brought in here, but really it's an army of people that come in here. I always want to make sure that we remember the logistics people and the finance people and the plans people and the communication people. There have been times we've had northward of 800 people on this incident. They come in and they put together a small city to take care of this fire and everything that comes with it. So I just want to recognize all those other resources that come along. Thank you for the great relationships you've built and left with us. It's hard to come in from somewhere else and pick up on what we think is important, but they have listened to us. They have taken to heart everything that we say is important and taken really good care of it. So thank you for that. I want everyone in the community to know how hard this team has worked for all of you. Also, welcome to the new team. I know we're going to talk a little bit about the transfer and the new team. We had a great meeting with them last night to start transferring a lot of that information. I have nothing but full confidence and respect for what they're bringing, and they have, again, showed great respect and connection with our local needs and our local folks. And so really happy with what they're bringing to the table and feel very good about everything that they will be sharing with us. So Sheriff Van Beek just mentioned I-70. Of course, it's reopened. I just want to remind everybody that the road is open, the rest areas and access to the recreation sites are still closed. And so please be mindful of that. There's no stopping on the interstate. There's no access to the river and the trailheads. And we'll need to assess that for a while to make sure that the firefighting resources that are in there have access to everything that they need. And there are still places in there, even though there's not a lot of smoke and fire, that are not safe for the public yet. And so we still have some work to do there. So please be thinking about that, and don't plan on stopping or recreating in the river corridor for some time. We're starting to think about river access and when we can make that available. So we very much do want to do that, but at this point it isn't safe. Also want to touch briefly on the closure areas that we have in place on BLM and National Forest System lands. Both north and south of the interstate, we have closures in place, Coffee Pot, and north of that up to the Wilderness, the river corridor, of course, and then that area south of the interstate. And that's going to stay in place right now for at least some time. As Sheriff mentioned, Coffee Pot Road is not safe for travel with heavy equipment and work that's going on right along there. But we'll continue to monitor that. Even if the fire gets quite a bit larger, we don't expect that closure to expand. It's big enough now, and we tried to take into account the different places where people would be coming from to try to access that area. So it's in good shape. It's going to stay that way at least for the foreseeable future this week, and ask you all to remember that. We know that archery hunting season is coming, and we're doing everything we can to keep looking at that and make areas available as they become safe. I just want to mention one other thing. Again, it is tinder dry out there, and I know that some people maybe online know that we have another new start on the forest this afternoon from Grand Junction into the west part of the White River. Took a bit of lightning this afternoon, so we're keeping our heads up about those potential new starts. We have a 5 to 10 acre fire in Rifle Creek, north and east of Rifle. We have ground crews on it and helicopters on it, and expect that they're going to pay attention to that through the evening. But just think about your fire safety when you're out there. If you're cutting firewood, if you're camping, whatever the case might be, things are tinder dry and resources are stretched way too tight to be dealing with another fire. So we'll chase after those lightning fires as they pop up, and use the team as available to help us with that. That's all I have for now. Again, my thanks to the Great Basin team, and welcome to the Alaska team. We really look forward to working with you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Appreciate that. Next, we have Marty Adel, Great Basin Incident Management Team, IC. Marty?
Commissioner, Sheriff, Deputy Supervisor, I will definitely pass along your thanks and your well wishes to the team members, and they do appreciate that. I'd like to talk to the community at large right now. The gratitude, the patience, and kindness of the towns of Glenwood Springs, Gibson, Elko, that's where I'm from, Eagle, the communities of, and I'm not going to get all of them, and I apologize, but Aspen Meadows, Coulter, Coffee Pot, Upper Colorado River, Bear Ranch. I know there's another one just at the tip of my tongue, but the gratitude, patience, and kindness that you've shown us is humbling and inspiring. We appreciate the willingness for everybody in this community to allow us to do our jobs, to assist us whenever they can in any matter is amazing. So thank you. We recognize the burden, and I've said that before, the burden that these fires put on a community, on individuals, not allowing you to go into areas that you may need to for work, the stress it puts on a family when they have to be evacuated. just leaving the home, just the overall weight it puts on the community and town economically, and just the stress on the individuals. We recognize that. We've seen it before. You will be stronger for it in the long run, and I commend you. It's a wonderful, wonderful community you have here. Secondly, the White River Forest, the BLM, state of Colorado, the counties of Garfield, Mr. Levy as a prime example for Eagle, Birch at the emergency management offices, the fire chiefs of Glenwood, Eagle, surrounding areas, CDOT, Excel, Energy, Union Pacific, Sheriff and Beek, Sheriff Lou, the troopers from Colorado. As you see this, you know, we have these fires, and everybody thinks it's a firefighter on an engine or a hotshot crew that put the fire out, and they do. There's no doubt. They're the ones digging line, they're the ones mopping up operations. When we look at Jeff and his operations crew make a plan. But it is the people that I just lined out, like our cooperators, our partners, as when a team comes in, that we depend on equally, if not as much, to get through these situations. If we did not have that partnership, that working relationship with our cooperators, our partners, the willingness of the community, we would not have had the success that we've had to this point. We would not have the ability to turn over a situation where we're happy when the Alaska team comes in without all of those partners, without the community. So our thanks to you. We appreciate it tremendously. It makes our job that much easier. And us wanting to come back, hopefully not in a situation like this, but to come back for a visit and see everyone again. With that, I'd like to introduce the Alaska Incident Management Type 1 team. They are experienced, trained, and a wonderful group of people. I've had the opportunity to work with several of them over the past 2 decades, and I believe, truly believe, the community, our partners are in great hands. So we've got a couple folks from the Alaska team here. First, the Deputy Incident Commander, Tom Kurth, as well as Public Information Officer, Kyle Casey. Gentlemen.
All right. Thank you, Marty. Again, Tom Kurth. I'm Deputy Incident Commander with the Alaska Interagency Incident Management Team. We bring about 80 individuals here with subject matter expertise, and we're here to relieve the Great Basin team and get them a well-deserved rest there. Just as a brief refresher here, we take our direction from the various land managers. You already heard from Lisa Stofler here, so it's kind of based on ownership. So our agency direction comes from the U.S. Forest Service, and then managers from the Bureau of Land Management, Colorado Division of Forest Protection there, Eagle and Garfield counties, and you, the public. Our job is to organize the nearly 800 individuals here, and then we build them into a daily plan, keep them and you safe, protect your homes and community, your utility infrastructure, keep the roads and highways open, assist initial attack, and then build upon the work that this Great Basin team has left us with, and in mighty good shape under Marty and Evan's direction here. Okay, they've built certain expectations here. That's work-wise, information-wise, and certainly working with cooperators here. So if we overlook something, let us know and we'll provide corrective behavior here. Okay, we've worked side by side with them for the last 2 days. Tomorrow morning, the Alaska team will assume responsibility for the overall incident. And then we're pretty much ready to go with this and what we consider a rather remarkable country and setting here. So thank you, and Cale, you want to pick it up here?
Thanks, Tom, and thanks, everybody. And thanks, Jim, and the information team. We consider ourselves an information family here. My name is Cale Casey, and I actually only moved to Alaska 3 years ago from the beautiful Western Slope. So I call this home. I have a house in Paonia in Lake City. It's an honor to be back and serve you all, and we will carry on what the information crew here has done. Sam Harrell's up in the audience here. He's our lead trainee, so you'll see Sam on camera. We'll be doing some more community meetings like this, but we'll also be shifting it up a little bit and doing some live feeds from camp as we start to move into more repair and in the final parts of our fire progression here over the next couple weeks. And we'll do that so that you can continue your question and answering, because we're here to make sure that every single question is answered just like the team has done throughout the last 2 weeks. And we know that that's the highest priority for the public. We see it in your comments, we see it in your graciousness in town, and we are honored to be here again. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Marty, and thank you, Alaska team, and welcome. With that, we are appreciate everyone's comments and information that you shared. We have compiled comments from your guys' questions on Facebook. So Kim Osborne, if you want to go ahead and take that as the moderator for the questions, go ahead.
Thank you, Jennifer. We actually only have 3 questions tonight because all of you did such a great job. You covered everything else. So these are for Deputy Forest Supervisor Lisa. And the first question is, they're curious about how the lizards fared during the fire, and were they able to go deep enough under the rocks to survive?
Yeah, and we've gotten a lot of questions about wildlife and what happens to them in fire situations. You know, for the most part, as we've said before, they're very resilient and very wily, and they know their habitats better than we do. For the most part, they move out of the way. Many things, you know, amphibians and reptiles and stuff, they're already living in places that are generally cooler and wetter, and so they can avoid the hottest parts of the fire. But for the most part, most of the wildlife moves or finds shelter. I wouldn't say in every single case, but in most cases, it's quite rare to find, you know, dead wildlife in the aftermath of a wildfire. Generally, they've moved and found shelter, as they do in their normal course of being.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, what is the impact of the retardant on the watershed?
It's a good question. I'll answer it in a couple of ways. You know, for the most part, retardant is fairly stable on the landscape when it hits land. It doesn't move around much, and those pilots are excellent. We lay out the areas that they can use retardant and areas that they shouldn't use retardant, and they follow those very closely. We also have the ability to track where they are putting retardant, and we track every single load of retardant that goes out on the ground. If something were to drift or get something in water, we could identify that. But it happens rarely. It happened rarely on this fire. And like I said, for the most part, once that hits the ground and dries, it doesn't move. It's not going to continue to move and run downhill. And so we feel really confident. Also, I know Jeff narrated for some time the use of helicopters versus air tankers to put retardant, and that really, really helped us pinpoint where we put retardant so that it wasn't necessarily spread and had a lot of drift over a large area. They really focused where they wanted that retardant and could use helicopters to get it right in there, and they did a great job with that.
Okay, and the last, we've had a lot of questions about the status of the investigation and the cause.
We have asked that question. Like I said before, we had trained investigators on that fire immediately the next day, and they gathered all that information, and they're still processing it. It's still under investigation, and we don't have a final answer onto the exact cause of the fire.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
This next question, we actually had a few more come in, would be for Marty. They're wanting to know the status of the Shoshone power plant.
Status on the Shoshone power plant. That power source is actually very secure in where it lied just by itself. There was some work done around it, if I'm not mistaken, Jeff, of some pre-treating of some fuels around it, so if the fire ever did come close to it, that it would be protected. Continuing on from there, from the Shoshone power plant, Excel is getting into that burn area. Anybody that has driven down the I-70 corridor has seen the massive amount of work that Excel is doing to replace or repair the transmission lines and the transmission lines and for the electricity. They're going at a very, very hectic pace and are ahead of schedule. So everything looks pretty safe when it comes to the power plant and the distribution lines. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We had one more question. I guess this would be for the Alaska team. Do you have, who's going to replace Jeff, was the question.
Oh, we have our variety of personalities that will make it a run anyway. We're used to doing Facebook Live and on a regular basis. We try to bring the public into the work environment there. You know, a lot of wildland firefighting is done anonymously and long hours, toil under arduous conditions. And so it is an opportunity to kind of show what the workforce does and how it works and how it's supplied and what their job is. And so we'll capitalize on those opportunities. But we liked the idea that the stage has been set for us.
Thank you. I'm sure you guys will do a great job.
All right.
And with that, that's it for our questions.
All right, thank you, Kim, and thank you, everyone, for your participation tonight. We just want to leave everyone with an appreciation poster that we have made and we shared with the cooperators and some of our community, but just wanted to say the Great Basin Incident Management Team wants to extend a huge thank you to everyone that helped support our team and all the fire resources that were on the Grizzly Creek Fire. Thank you very much for all the communities and your support. With that, we'll end tonight's community meeting. Everyone have a great evening. The next community meeting will be with the Alaska team. They will have it on Thursday at 6 p.m. and they will be over on the Garfield side. So you will see different faces, different names, but you'll get the same great information that we've all been sharing. So have a great night. Thank you.